The moment they pray you never hear the truth is the moment you were meant to. They didn't ask for this video to be silenced because it's dangerous. They begged for it to be buried because it exposes everything they've built on your back. You were never the problem. You were the solution they feared. And this message, right here, it's the final crack in their illusion. The second you hear these words, their control starts slipping. They don't fear noise, they fear truth. And you, chosen one, are the truth they cannot bury. Imagine this. A lion cub is raised in a zoo, surrounded by fences and fed on a schedule. Everyone sees it as cute, harmless, even safe. But what happens when it remembers the jungle? What happens when it realizes the cage was never home? That's you. They raised you in limits, fed you lies, taught you to play small. But the roar inside you, that was never part of their plan. They don't fear your rebellion, they fear your remembrance. And here's the fact that screams you're right. Systems don't spend billions on controlling people unless they know those people can break the system. They don't waste energy on the weak. They obsess over the threat. And guess what? That threat has always been you. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe to help spread this message to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. And thank you again for being a part of this mission. You are part of a force now, a silent storm waking up. Now back to the truth they fear the most. You weren't supposed to find this. You weren't supposed to hear this. Every part of their plan was designed to make sure this moment never happened. They don't care how many people stay asleep. They only panic when the right one wakes up. And that's what you are. You're not just anyone scrolling through a video. You are the one they marked early. The one they tried to silence through fear, guilt, doubt, and sabotage. Because even as a child, your energy unsettled them. Even when you had nothing, they were watching, testing, interfering. Not because you were a problem, but because your future was the threat they couldn't control. You see, this isn't about luck or accident. This is a calculated war, one that started before you even realized you were in it. They built traps in your childhood, looped you into cycles, surrounded you with people who mirrored your insecurities back at you. They never wanted you to heal, because healing would mean remembering. And remembering, that's fatal for them. They threw fake friendships at you, toxic lovers, jobs that drained you, opportunities that always fell through at the last second. And still, somehow, you're here, breathing, listening, remembering. That alone makes you dangerous, but don't get it twisted. Surviving isn't what scares them. Evolving is. Because when a chosen one evolves, they don't just free themselves, they start freeing others. And that's when the fear turns into panic. Why do you think they never leave you alone? Why do you think life felt like a storm chasing you? It wasn't bad luck. It was targeted suppression. They knew what you were capable of, so they tried to overload your nervous system with chaos. Keep you in survival mode. Because when you're distracted by pain, you don't notice your own power. But now you do. And that changes everything. This is why they begged this video never reaches you. Not because it's loud, but because it's silent and surgical. It doesn't entertain. It awakens. It doesn't hype you up with false hope. It reminds you of who you really are. And once you remember, their game is over, because the only thing that keeps them alive is your belief that they're in control. Let's be real. How many people get attacked relentlessly for just existing? How many get betrayed not once, but over and over? How many keep getting back up without any crowd cheering for them? That's not a normal life. That's a war on your spirit, and most people wouldn't survive it. But you did, and not just barely. You're rising. Every system built to break you only exposed what couldn't be broken. You lost things. Yes, you lost people. You lost time. But you never lost your truth. And that's why they're shaking. Because now you're not just aware. You're activated. They never thought this moment would come. The moment where you realize they've been playing scared this whole time, hiding behind illusions, using fear as a curtain. But behind it, just weak minds trying to delay the inevitable. You're awakening. You hearing this right now isn't just a moment, it's a turning point, because when chosen ones rise, things shift. Reality shifts. Cycles break. Chains fall. Not because someone rescued you, but because you remembered yourself. So what happens now? Now you don't shrink. You don't question your gut. You don't water yourself down to fit into their cage. You stop making yourself small for people who couldn't handle your raw form. You stop explaining your energy to people who were never meant to understand it. You stop seeking permission from a system that feared you the moment you were born. They will try to gaslight you into thinking this is paranoia, that you're just overthinking. But what you're really doing is seeing clearly. You're reading patterns, feeling energies, watching masks slip. That's not delusion. That's alignment. And the real ones know, when the universe starts placing you in the right spaces, removing the wrong people and giving you clarity, you don't ask questions. You listen. So listen now. This isn't just a message. It's a warning to the enemy. You're awake. You're aware, and you're no longer willing to play small. They had their time. They played their games. But now, it's your era. And what they feared the most is already happening. And hey, chosen one, if you've made it this far, it's no accident. You were meant to hear this. You're not here for entertainment. You're here because your rise is a direct threat to the system that tried to erase you. So, before we go any further, drop a 444 in the comments if you feel that fire waking up inside you. And if this message hits deep, consider supporting the team that risked everything to bring this truth to light. Whether it's a like, a share, or even a small gift, it helps keep this message alive, and that's exactly what they don't want. Every single move you make here adds fuel to this awakening. This isn't just a video, this is a digital rebellion. And now, let's break it down step by step. If you're a true chosen one, you'll feel it in your bones. This message was never supposed to reach you. That's exactly why you need to stay locked in till the very end. What comes next? It's the part they never wanted you to hear. Let's begin. Number 1. They prayed you never woke up, but here you are. They spent years breaking you, manipulating you, and leading you astray, and still they failed. They watched you from the moment you arrived in this world. They studied you like predators watching their most dangerous prey. You were never just another person to them. You were a threat. They saw the light in you before you even understood what it was. That's why they moved against you before you ever had the chance to rise. They infiltrated your life, planting seeds of doubt, surrounding you with deception, draining your energy in ways you couldn't even recognize at the time. They didn't just try to break you physically. That would have been too obvious. No, their attack was far more sinister. They played with your mind, twisted your perception of yourself, made you question your instincts, your worth, your very identity. They whispered lies into your thoughts. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. You don't have what it takes. And when that didn't work, they sent people you trusted, people you loved, to reinforce those doubts. How many times have you felt like you were walking through life, carrying a weight that no one else seemed to feel? How many times did you wonder why every battle felt personal, why the betrayals cut deeper, why the losses were heavier? It wasn't a coincidence. They targeted you. They made sure you were surrounded by distractions, setbacks, toxic relationships, anything that would keep you too exhausted to see the truth. And what is that truth? That every single attack on your life was proof of your significance. Think about it. Why would they go to such lengths to stop you if you were just another ordinary person? Why would they invest so much effort into breaking you unless they feared what you were capable of? The greatest warriors in history were never left alone. Jesus was hunted at birth. Malcolm X was silenced. Tesla was erased. Joan of Arc was burned. Every single one of them faced relentless attacks before stepping into their power. And you survived. That's the part they never saw coming. They thought the doubts would drown you. They thought the exhaustion would make you quit. They thought the betrayals would turn you bitter. They thought the weight of everything they threw at you would finally make you collapse. But here you are, unbroken, unstoppable, awake. You see, their biggest mistake was thinking that suffering would destroy you, but chosen ones aren't destroyed by suffering. We are forged by it. You didn't just survive, you became something stronger than they ever anticipated. They built a storm meant to wash you away. But all it did was cleanse you of everything that was never meant to stay. They sent fire to consume you, and instead, you became the fire. So now the question is, what will you do with this? Because knowing this truth isn't enough. The war isn't over just because you woke up. It's only beginning. Now that you see through their illusion, now that you understand what you were always meant to be, the real battle begins. They will come for you again. They will try to convince you that this realization is just a phase, that you're imagining things, that you should go back to the way things were. But you cannot go back. Because once a chosen one wakes up, the enemy loses their grip. They relied on your blindness, your hesitation, your self-doubt. But that version of you, that version is gone. The only thing left is the warrior they always feared you would become. So let them panic. Let them scramble to regain control. Let them watch in horror as the one they tried to erase becomes the force they can no longer contain. Because this is the moment they prayed would never come. And now it's too late for them. But it's just the beginning for you. Number 2. They couldn't steal your power, so they tried to make you hate it. They called you too much because they could never match your energy. They knew they couldn't take what was given to you. They couldn't steal your power, your presence, or your divine energy. So they did the next best thing. They convinced you to reject it yourself. They made you feel like your gifts were a burden instead of a blessing. They twisted your strengths into something you should be ashamed of. They planted seeds of doubt so deep that you started to believe them. How many times have you heard it? You're too intense. You overthink too much. You don't belong. They told you to tone it down, shrink yourself, be quieter, be softer, be less. Not because there was anything wrong with you, but because they feared what you could become if you ever fully embraced yourself. This is energy manipulation at its finest. When they realized they couldn't match your energy, they tried to make you suppress it. They knew you carried something rare, something powerful, something they could never replicate. So instead of acknowledging it, they shamed it. Instead of celebrating it, they made you question it. Instead of encouraging you, they tried to break you. But here's the truth they never wanted you to see. The very things they told you to hide were the proof of your divine power. They called you too much because your energy was something they could never possess. They mocked your deep thinking because your mind moves in ways theirs never could. They belittled your emotions because your ability to feel and connect is something they will never understand. They laughed at your visions, your ideas, your passion, not because they were foolish, but because they were beyond their comprehension. Look at the patterns. Why do the strongest, most gifted souls always feel like they don't belong? Why are the most insightful minds the ones mocked, ignored, or misunderstood? Because this world is built to reject what it can't control. And chosen ones, they are uncontrollable. And so the conditioning began. They turned your uniqueness into a weakness. They made you feel guilty for your ambition, your depth, your hunger for something greater. They told you to be realistic, to just be normal, to stop standing out. Because the moment you embraced your power, they lost their ability to control you. Think of the greatest figures in history. Einstein was ridiculed. Tesla was dismissed. Joan of Arc was condemned. Jesus was denied. The world has always tried to silence those who carried something divine. They tried to do the same to you. But here's where they failed. You are waking up. You are starting to see that everything they told you was a lie. You were never too much. They were simply not enough. You were never broken. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't handle your strength. And the second you stop apologizing for who you are, the entire illusion they built around you collapses. So what will you do? Will you keep shrinking yourself to make others comfortable? Will you keep hiding your gifts to avoid making them insecure? Or will you finally step into the power they never wanted you to claim? Because the moment you do, their game is over, and you become unstoppable. Number 3, they built a system to keep you blind. A slave who doesn't know they're a slave will never try to escape. They never needed chains. They never needed walls. They built a prison without bars, one so well designed that most people never even realize they're trapped. And that was their greatest trick. To convince you that you were free, while every choice, every path, every so-called opportunity was just another form of control. From the moment you were born, they put you inside their system. They taught you what to think, how to act, what to fear, and most importantly, what to ignore. Schools didn't teach you how to be free. They taught you how to obey. The media didn't tell you the truth. They fed you just enough lies to keep you complacent. Society never encouraged you to discover who you truly are. It forced you to fit into a mold that serves them, not you. And that's where the matrix effect comes in. They made sure you never even questioned the structure around you. Go to school, get a job, work until you die. And in between, stay distracted. They flood you with entertainment, fake news, mindless social media, and endless noise. Because if you ever stopped, if you ever sat in silence long enough to really think, you would see through the illusion. And what is that illusion? That you had a choice. Look around. They tell you that you can be anything, do anything, live however you want, but every road they gave you was pre-designed to keep you under control. Go to college. Now you're drowning in debt, trapped in a cycle of endless payments. Get a job. Now you're trading your time and energy for just enough to survive, but never enough to truly break free. Follow society's rules. Now you're locked into expectations that demand you shrink yourself, that you become small, obedient, and easy to manage. And the worst part, they convinced you this was normal. That's the real war, not with guns, not with armies, with control over your mind, spiritual warfare. That's what this is. They conditioned you to reject your own power before you even knew you had it. They filled your head with doubts, surrounded you with people who would tell you, be realistic, don't dream too big, just do what everyone else is doing. And when that wasn't enough, they used fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of stepping outside the lines, because a chosen one in doubt is just as powerless as a follower in chains. They trained you to laugh at the truth and accept the lie. They called deep thinkers crazy. They called spiritual awakenings delusions. They called visionaries dangerous. Why? Because a system that relies on control can't afford too many leaders. It needs workers, consumers, people too exhausted from surviving to ever ask the right questions. But here's the question they never wanted you to ask. If this system is built for your success, why does it rely on your silence? Why does it reward obedience and punish questioning? Why does it glorify mediocrity but silence those who think differently? Why does it promote distractions over deep thought, fear over courage, and dependency over self-sufficiency? Because this was never meant to be in your favor. And now that you see the game, you can't be played anymore. That's why they fear you. That's why they worked so hard to keep you blind. Because the moment you truly wake up, their system loses its grip. And that moment? It's happening right now. Number 4. Your pain was never a coincidence. It was a targeted attack. They weren't trying to stop you from failing. They were trying to stop you from realizing you could never be defeated. They didn't come after you because you were weak. They didn't break you down because you were unworthy. They attacked because they saw something in you, something unstoppable, something that terrified them. They knew that if you ever woke up, if you ever realized what was inside you, their control would be over. So they hit you before you even knew you were in a fight. Nothing in your life was random, not the betrayals, not the losses, not the moments that almost broke you. Every hardship, every setback, every disappointment was placed in your path to break you before you discovered your strength. They didn't wait until you were fully grown to attack. They started early. They had to. Because a chosen one who knows their power is the most dangerous thing in this world. Look back, see the patterns. Every time you tried to rise, something came out of nowhere to knock you down. Just when you were about to reach something great, a setback appeared that made you question everything. And the worst part, the attacks didn't always come from enemies. Sometimes they came from the people closest to you, family, friends, people you trusted. Why? Because the enemy knew you wouldn't expect it. This is how they work. They use those closest to you to plant the deepest wounds. They turned love into a weapon, trust into a trap, and comfort into captivity. They made sure you were surrounded by people who didn't believe in you, people who underestimated you, people who fed your doubts instead of your dreams. Because if they could make you doubt yourself, they wouldn't have to stop you. You'd stop yourself. But here's the secret they never wanted you to know. The fire wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to forge you. They thought the pain would break you. Instead, it made you unbreakable. They thought the betrayal would leave you bitter. Instead, it gave you clarity. They thought the loss would leave you empty. Instead, it cleared the way for something greater. Every single thing they threw at you, everything they used to try to keep you down, only made you stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable. And history repeats itself. Jesus was hunted before he could fulfill his purpose. Nelson Mandela was locked away before he could change the world. Malcolm X was silenced before his voice could reach the masses. Joan of Arc was burned for speaking truth. Do you see the pattern? The greatest forces of change were attacked first. The system always tries to destroy the chosen before they realize they cannot be defeated. And you're no different. So what now? Will you still look at your pain as proof that you're cursed, or will you recognize it for what it truly is? Proof that you were always meant for something greater. Because now the game has changed. They spent years breaking you, but they failed. They spent a lifetime trying to make you forget who you are, but you remember. And now you have two choices. Stay where they tried to leave you or rise into the power they always feared. The choice is yours. But know this: the moment you choose to rise, nothing can stop you. Number 5. The war is unseen, but the damage is real. You weren't just fighting people, you were fighting an entire system designed to drain you. The battles you've faced weren't random. They weren't just bad luck, unfortunate circumstances, or a series of coincidences. They were designed. From the very beginning, you were placed in a battlefield you didn't even know existed. You weren't just dealing with difficult people, unlucky situations, or personal struggles. You were at war with an entire system built to keep you weak. They sent energy vampires into your life, people who latched onto you, drained you, took from you, and left you empty. People who came pretending to be friends, lovers, mentors, only to steal your energy, your focus, your peace. Every time you started gaining momentum, they appeared, creating chaos, planting doubts, keeping you distracted. And the worst part? You blamed yourself. You thought you were attracting the wrong people, making the wrong choices. But the truth? They were sent. And it wasn't just people. It was spiritual warfare, the exhaustion, the fear, the doubt. It wasn't natural. It was carefully placed. Think about it. Why do you feel drained when you're stepping into your purpose? Why do you feel overwhelmed the moment you start making progress? Because the system is designed to make sure you never reach full power. Every time you tried to rise, the attacks came stronger. It wasn't just life being difficult. It was an organized effort to break you. They used psychological warfare against you, guilt, shame, manipulation. They made you question yourself, doubt your own worth, hesitate before taking action. They filled your mind with lies. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. Maybe this isn't for you, but where did those thoughts come from? They weren't yours. They were programmed. The world conditioned you to think small, act small, and stay small, because a chosen one at full strength is unstoppable. But here's what they never expected. You see it now. You see that the battle was never about small struggles. It was always about control. You weren't weak. You were under attack. And now that you know, the war changes. Because once you recognize the game, you can't be played anymore. Now, the question is simple. Will you let them keep draining you, or will you take back your power? Because the moment you decide to rise, the system loses control. And the ones who thought they could break you, they start to fear what happens next. Number 6. They tried to replace you, but no one can take your spot. They tried to copy your essence, but a counterfeit will never carry real power. First, they mocked you, laughed at you, called you crazy, different, impossible to understand. They ridiculed your ideas, dismissed your visions, acted like you were nothing special. But the moment they realized they couldn't break you, something changed. They started trying to be you. Look around. How many times have people who once doubted you suddenly started imitating you? How many times have the very ones who tried to silence you ended up adopting your energy, your style, your mindset? They hated you, but they wanted what you had. And here's the truth they will never admit. They don't hate you. They hate the fact that they can never be you. They copied your words, your moves, your confidence. They took pieces of you and tried to wear them like a mask. But what they never understood is that real power isn't something you can fake. It's not something you can steal. It's not something you can imitate. Power is something you are born with. And that's why no matter how much they try, no matter how much they mimic, they will always come up short. This is why they envy you. Your energy is rare. It cannot be learned, borrowed, or replicated. They could study you for years, and still they would never carry what you do naturally. Because your strength, your wisdom, your ability to see through illusions, it wasn't taught to you, it was given to you, and that terrifies them. Think about it. If they truly didn't see your value, why would they try so hard to copy you? If you were insignificant, why would they keep watching you, studying you, trying to figure out your magic? They know your presence shifts energy, that your spirit disrupts deception, that your words awaken others. And that's why they tried to replace you. They thought if they could steal your essence, they could own what you have. But they never understood. A counterfeit will never carry real power. And now they have to live with that reality. No matter how much they tried to erase you, you still exist. No matter how much they tried to replace you, your light still shines through. No matter how much they wanted to be you, they will always be stuck watching from the outside, wishing they had what flows through you effortlessly. So let them copy, let them mimic, let them pretend. It doesn't matter, because what's real will always outshine what's fake. And when you step fully into your power, they will finally have to face the truth. They were never meant to stand where you stand. You were chosen, and nothing can take that away. Number 7. They control through fear until you stop fearing them. The only power they have is the power you give them. Fear. That has always been their weapon of choice. Not force, not strength. Fear. They never needed chains to hold you down, never needed to lock you away, never needed to physically stop you. They only needed to make you afraid. Afraid to fail. Afraid to stand alone. Afraid to speak up. Afraid to be seen for who you truly are. Because as long as fear rules you, they don't have to control you. You'll control yourself. Think about it. Every great force in history that disrupted the system wasn't physically stronger than the oppressors. They were fearless. That's why they were unstoppable. The system doesn't collapse when people fight back. It collapses when people stop being afraid. They want you in a constant state of hesitation, second-guessing every move, doubting your intuition, questioning your own power. They know that as long as you are uncertain, you won't act. And if you don't act, they don't have to fight you. But here's the truth they've worked so hard to keep hidden. The moment you stop fearing them, they lose all control over you. Let that sink in. They hold power only because you allow it. Their threats, their manipulation, their deception, none of it works on a mind that is free. The day you decide that you are done being afraid, the entire game changes. Because fear is what kept you bound. Fear is what made you hesitate. Fear is what made you give away your power before you even realized you had it. But ask yourself, what happens when you stop playing their game? When you stop fearing rejection, their control over your social life disappears. When you stop fearing failure, their ability to keep you small vanishes. When you stop fearing judgment, their entire system of psychological manipulation crumbles. When you stop fearing them, they have nothing left. Look around. Fear is their only weapon. They don't have real strength. If they did, they wouldn't need to rely on deception. They wouldn't need to flood the world with lies. They wouldn't need to use guilt, shame, and intimidation. But they do. Because without fear, they are powerless. And here's your wake-up call. If fear is controlling you, you're still playing their game. So what will you do? Will you keep letting them dictate your actions, your emotions, your destiny, or will you finally see fear for what it really is, a prison made of illusions? Because the moment you decide to break free, you become the force they never wanted to face, fearless, unstoppable, untouchable. Number 8. Your rise means their fall. When the chosen one stands, the oppressors crumble. They didn't attack you because of who you were. They attacked you because of who you were becoming. From the very beginning, they saw something in you, something powerful, something rare, something they could never control, and that terrified them, because they knew that if you ever stood fully in your power, their entire system would begin to crack. That's why they worked so hard to silence you, why they gaslit you, drained you, filled your life with distractions, and turned people against you. It wasn't random. It was war. They were fighting to keep their power, and that meant keeping you weak, keeping you asleep, keeping you doubting your own potential. But here's what they never saw coming. You woke up, and now everything shifts. Because your energy doesn't just affect you, it affects everything around you. Your presence alone disrupts their illusion. The way you see through deception, the way you expose the lies, the way you refuse to comply with the system they built. It shakes their foundation to the core. Think about it. Why do certain people suddenly turn on you the moment you step into your power? Why does the opposition increase when you start living in your truth? Why does the world push back so hard against those who wake up? Because your very existence threatens the entire structure they've built. Your rise means their fall. When you stand, their control weakens. When you speak, their lies are exposed. When you step forward, their power fades. And that's why this isn't just personal. This isn't about one person attacking you, one situation trying to break you. This is about an entire system that was never built for you to win. You weren't meant to be another follower, another pawn, another silent piece in their game. You were meant to break the system itself. And that is why they fear you. Not because you are angry, not because you are strong, but because you cannot be controlled anymore. The moment you step fully into your purpose, the enemy loses control. The distractions, the manipulations, the fear tactics, they all become useless, because once a chosen one wakes up, the world is never the same again. So now, the question isn't whether you will rise. The question is, how many will rise with you? Because your awakening is not just your own. It's the beginning of something much, much bigger. Number 9. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to lead. Stop chasing approval from those who were never meant to understand you. You've felt it your entire life, that disconnect, that sense of not belonging, that feeling that no matter how much you tried to fit in, something inside you just wouldn't let you. You weren't imagining it. You weren't broken. You were never meant to blend in with them because you were built to stand apart. From the very beginning, they made you feel like an outsider. Maybe it was in your childhood when you saw the world differently than others. Maybe it was in relationships when people misunderstood your depth, your vision, your way of thinking. Or maybe it was in society itself, a world that expected you to conform, to follow, to accept the limitations placed in front of you. But here's what they never told you. Your isolation was never a punishment. It was preparation. Every moment you spent feeling alone, every season of rejection, every time you wondered why you were different, it was all shaping you into the leader you were meant to be. The greatest warriors, the strongest visionaries, the most powerful chosen ones, all walk alone before they lead many. Think about it. Moses was sent into the wilderness before leading his people to freedom. Jesus spent years being rejected before his message changed the world. Malcolm X, Nikola Tesla, Joan of Arc, all faced isolation before stepping into their full purpose. Why? Because leaders cannot be trained in comfort. They cannot be molded by approval. They are forged in the fire of solitude. You weren't supposed to fit into their system because you weren't made for it. The world rejects what it cannot understand. It tries to break what it cannot control. And that's why they turned against you. Not because you were wrong, but because you were different. And different terrifies them. But now you see the truth. You were never meant to seek validation. You were meant to lead. So stop looking for approval from those who were never meant to walk with you. Stop watering yourself down to be accepted by people who don't even know their own power. Stop apologizing for standing apart when you were always meant to stand above. Because the moment you step into your leadership, everything changes. The ones who doubted you will have no choice but to watch. The ones who rejected you will one day wish they had stood beside you. And the ones who once laughed, they will be the first to ask how you did it. But by then, it won't matter, because you will already be leading the way. Number 10. The time to rise is now. No more waiting. They spent years delaying you. Now it's time to move. How much longer will you wait? How many more signs do you need? How many times will you let fear, doubt, and hesitation keep you in the same cycle, knowing you were meant for more? They spent years slowing you down, filling your life with distractions, surrounding you with energy-draining people, making you second-guess yourself at every step. It was never a coincidence. It was never just bad timing. It was deliberate, because they knew that the longer you hesitated, the longer they could keep you from stepping into your power. But now, that time is over. Your rise is not coming. It's already here. There's no more waiting for the perfect moment. No more waiting to feel ready. No more hoping for someone to give you permission. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you your power. Because the chosen ones don't wait. They move. The system that was built to hold you back is already collapsing. They see it happening. That's why the attacks are getting stronger. That's why the distractions are more intense. That's why you've been feeling an urgency, an undeniable pull inside you, because your time is now. If you've made it this far, if you're hearing this message, then you already know. The question is, will you act? Because they fear what happens next. They fear a chosen one who is no longer afraid. They fear what happens when you stop doubting yourself. They fear the moment you finally step forward, without hesitation, without fear, without holding back. Think about all the years they've stolen from you. Think about the moments you stayed silent when you should have spoken. The opportunities you passed on because you didn't feel good enough. The times you shrank yourself to make others comfortable. That ends today. No more doubts. No more hesitation. No more waiting for a moment that has already arrived. Because you are already who you were meant to be. You don't need more validation, more proof, more preparation. Everything you need is already inside of you. You just have to decide. The enemy sees it. They feel it. They know they have no time left. Because once the chosen ones rise, nothing can stop it. So, what will you do? Keep waiting? Or finally step into the power that was always yours? Because the time isn't tomorrow. It isn't next week. It isn't one day. The time is now, and there is no going back. Number 11. They will try to pull you back. Stay ready. When they see you rising, they will come back pretending to be allies. The moment you start rising, the moment you begin stepping into your power, they will notice. The ones who ignored you, who mocked you, who never supported you, suddenly they'll come back. Not because they've changed, not because they truly regret how they treated you, but because they can feel the shift. They can sense that your energy is no longer accessible to them, and that terrifies them. At first, they'll come with fake apologies. They'll say they see you differently now. They'll tell you they were wrong about you, that they finally understand your worth. They'll act like they've had a sudden realization. But understand this: they are not here to support you. They are here to stop you. Where were they when you were struggling? Where were they when you were at your lowest, doubting yourself, searching for answers? They weren't there. And now, just as you're rising, just as you're stepping into the person you were always meant to be, they suddenly want back in. It's not a coincidence. It's a trap. The moment you break free, the moment you cut ties with the cycle of manipulation, doubt, and self-sabotage, they panic. They see you rising, and they know that if they don't stop you now, they never will. So they come back with a smile, acting like they have good intentions. They pretend to support you, to be proud of you, but it's all a game. They'll come as friends, as lovers, as long-lost allies, but they're only here for one reason: to pull you back into the old cycle, to keep you distracted, doubting, second-guessing yourself, to plant just enough hesitation in your mind to stop you from fully stepping into your power. And if you let them back in, they will destroy everything you've built. You see, the old version of you was easy for them to control, the version of you that needed validation, that wanted approval, that was willing to dim your light to keep others comfortable. That was the version they thrived on. But this new you, the one who is breaking free, seeing through the illusions, refusing to be manipulated, that version is a threat. And they can't allow that. So they will test you, they will push you, they will try to lure you back into the past. But listen carefully, the old cycle is over. You cannot return to what you've outgrown. If someone walked away from you when you were struggling, they do not deserve to stand next to you now that you are rising. If someone doubted you when you were lost, they do not get to benefit from your clarity. If someone mocked you when you were questioning yourself, they do not get to celebrate you now that you've found your strength. This is the test. Will you let them back in? Will you allow yourself to be pulled back into their web of lies, manipulation, and emotional traps? Or will you finally close the door for good and keep moving forward? Because here's the truth: you don't owe them anything. Not an explanation, not a conversation. Nothing. The old cycle is done, the past is over, and the only direction left for you to go, forward. So stay ready, stay sharp, and most importantly, stay free. Number 12. Final message. You are the storm they feared. They wanted to erase you. Instead, you became the force that will erase them. They spent years trying to silence you, to break you, to convince you that you were nothing, but they failed. They did everything in their power to erase your name, to erase your spirit, to erase the fire that burns within you. And still, here you are, rising, unshaken, a force greater than anything they ever prepared for. They thought they could contain you. They thought they could control you. They thought they could keep you locked in the cycle of fear, doubt, and hesitation. But what they never realized is that every attack, every setback, every battle only made you stronger. You didn't just survive their war. You became the weapon they never saw coming. This is your moment. Own it. No more waiting. No more second-guessing, no more seeking permission from a world that was never meant to define you. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to shake the foundation of everything they built. They wanted you lost, confused, powerless. But instead, you became the storm. Think about it. If you were never a threat, why did they work so hard to stop you? Why did they put obstacles in your path at every turn? Why did they make sure you were surrounded by the wrong people, given the wrong messages, trapped in endless cycles of pain and confusion? Because they knew. They knew that if you ever stepped fully into your power, the system they built would never be the same again. They knew that if you ever realized who you were, nothing could stop you. They knew that the moment you stopped hesitating, stopped apologizing, stopped shrinking yourself to make others comfortable, it was over for them. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? You don't need more time. You don't need more signs. This is the sign. This is the moment where you stop doubting, stop delaying, stop playing small. Because you were never small. They just wanted you to believe you were. But now you see it. You see the truth. You see the lies. You see the game they've been playing for centuries. Keeping the chosen ones blind, keeping them weak, keeping them afraid to step into their full power. But the game is over. They thought they could break you, but you turned the pain into power. They thought they could silence you, but your voice became the thunder before the storm. They thought they could control you, but now they are the ones running scared. Because you are the storm they feared. You are not here to be a follower. You are not here to obey their rules. You are here to disrupt, to awaken, to destroy everything built on deception. No more seeking permission, no more waiting for approval. The time for playing small is gone, because now you move differently. Now you walk with power. Now you speak with certainty. Now you know exactly who you are and exactly what you came here to do, and they can't stop it. It's too late for them. The cracks in their system are already showing. The energy is shifting. The chosen ones are rising, and the ones who thought they could control the narrative, they are watching it slip through their fingers. They wanted to erase you. Instead, you became the force that will erase them. So step forward. Own your power. Let them watch as everything they feared becomes reality. Because this is your time, and the world will never be the same again. And now it all comes down to this, the moment they never wanted to happen. You've seen through the illusion, broken their chains, and stepped into the power they tried to keep from you. This is your rise, and their fall. If you feel this shift happening inside you, drop the number 777 in the comments. Let the world know you are awake, unshaken, and unstoppable. Like, share, and subscribe, because they do not want this truth to spread. They thought they had time. They thought they could stop you. But they were wrong. The storm has arrived, and it's you.